So I describe myself as being pangender, and that's just a label, really. It's not a term that I feel particularly tied in with. That's the right word. And I'm not entirely sure that I like having a label applied to me. The pangender seems to be one of these generic terms that talks about the idea of gender fluidity. And for me, gender is actually something that's created primarily in the mind. It's created by the world, the societies, the cultures that we live in, and the expectations of the different sexes, primarily, although not just related to sex, to present and behave in particular ways. And wrapped up with that is a sense of what seems appealing, what seems to be relevant to identify with, and what you want to express, what, in terms of how you're presenting and in terms of how you're relating to the world, seems to allow what is within you to come up and have a sort of full flow of expression. So I have a lot of trouble. I've spent quite a lot of time trying to figure out what is masculine, what is feminine, beyond the labels that we tend to put on them. And I'm still confused with that, really. But as much as I do understand those labels as they are generally applied, so for example, someone who is very proactive, perhaps aggressive, very much forceful in terms of pushing their energy out onto others and driving and so on, might be described as masculine very often. Whereas someone, or a quality which is flowing, creative, free-spirited perhaps, might be described as feminine. Now even those, I know there will be differences of views, which sort of just brings home how difficult pinning these definitions down is. But I do feel that a lot of what is within me needs to express itself in a feminine way through the idea of a feminine presentation that seems to bring to life something that's within me from time to time, but not all the time by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, probably, relatively speaking, a minority of the time. There are a lot of things which might be associated with the feminine that I don't identify with, and certainly there are a lot to do with my masculine identity that I do. So that's why I tend to adopt this description of myself as being pangendered or gender fluid. I know there's a myriad of similar terms, most of which I don't fully understand, and some of which pretty much say the same thing or overlapping. So sometimes it is expressing the feminine, which does involve cross-dressing in my case, but it doesn't involve, generally speaking, wanting to alter my body sufficiently to go through a transition to change physical, or at least the outward appearance of physical sex. There's a little bit of that has come into my thinking from time to time, but by and large I've taken the decision not to alter my body through cosmetic means. I'll talk a little bit more about that in time. This whole area, whether it's a spectrum or a matrix, is made up of all sorts of people with different motivations. It's wonderfully diverse. That's one of the really great things about it. So, pangender for now.